Did the College Football Playoff Committee get it right? Now, most specifically, as it pertains, I would think, to the Tennessee-Ohio State game or potential game ranking, and then Alabama jumping to 11. So let me just start with that wide open. Did the College Football Playoff Committee get it right?
Not only did they get it right, they got it 1,000,000,000% right, and they didn't take any politicking or bias into account at all. Let me start with the can I go with I'll start with Tennessee, Ohio State real quick. Guys, their worst loss. Tennessee's is to 6-6 Arkansas. Ohio State's is to 7-5 Michigan. No, yes, Ohio State lost at home, but it was to a better team. It was a closer game, and Tennessee's loss to Arkansas was off a bye. That's your best argument in favor of Tennessee, though. What about their second worst loss, Dave? Their second worst loss. Tennessee's was at number 5 Georgia. Ohio State's was at number 1 Oregon. Tennessee lost that game to Georgia by 14. Ohio State lost to Oregon by 1. What about their quality wins? Tennessee's quality wins, they have a grand total of 1 against top 25 teams, and that is Alabama, number 11, and they beat Alabama at home. Alabama's 9-3. Ohio State's quality wins, they beat number 3 Penn State on the road, and they beat number 9 now Indiana in a blowout, both ahead of Alabama. Then you just go straight like on standard stuff. Number of wins against teams with winning records or bowl eligible. Ohio State has more than Tennessee. Schedule strength. Ohio State's is higher than Tennessee. Where in the resume can you say that Tennessee should get a home game over Ohio State? They have a better resume down the line. It's just not close, guys. Well, okay, it's close, but it's not. It's close, but it's clear cut. It's close, but decisive.
Okay, here's where I disagree with you, Caleb. I think that you should factor into how teams are playing down the stretch. And I think you should factor in to the excitement or lack thereof of a fan base. And you pointed this out. And for those that listen every day, and please hit that like button, please subscribe. We greatly appreciate it. For those of you that listen every day, you're probably saying Caleb's backtracking because Caleb thought that Tennessee would host a playoff game and that it would be Ohio State. So I'm not going to put words in your mouth. I want you to explain how you're not backtracking.
I'm not backtracking. I thought Tennessee was going to host a game against Ohio State, and that is because I thought Tennessee was going to get the advantage, which we're going to talk about later, of being in the SEC and the politicking of that. And that with recency bias, there would be a goal to have Tennessee play at home because I think there may be the thought that Tennessee has a better chance of making some noise. They don't want Ohio State making a run while at the same time Ohio State fans are wanting Ryan Day fired. Or maybe they do if you're politicking. I mean, that is good storyline at the end of the day. So maybe they do. I don't know. But I thought the politics of it would favor Tennessee. The resume, though, favors Ohio State, guys. And it's not, it's close. But it's not, it's close, but it's clear cut. In every way, shape, and form, the resume favors Ohio State. You guys can talk about the inconsistency of teams.
Well, except for the recency.
Except for the recency. But and I know people are going to talk about the inconsistencies of teams dropping this much at this week and this much in that week. And you can say who, Texas beating Michigan and all those things. The way you compare two teams, you're down to 2 teams, Tennessee and Ohio State. If you compare them, you just look at their resumes. Ohio State's collective losses are better than Tennessee's losses. Ohio State's collective quality wins are better than Tennessee's quality wins. And Ohio State's strength of schedule is higher than Tennessee's. That's the trifecta.
Okay, Caleb, let me ask you this. Let's say that one day you and I are conferring and we're going to hire another writer for Off the Hook Sports. And let's say that person at their previous job was an editor. For those that don't know, they're writers and editors. Editors are mostly at a desk, and that's what they do. And they edit copy, and they don't do a lot of creative stuff. So let's say that you've got a person who was an editor, and he was fine at it. No complaints. He didn't show up and push a bunch of people around. Everything was good. His references check out. But then at his last job, he won awards. He was named the Tennessee Sports Writer of the Year, like Jimmy Himes was, who writes for our website here at offthehooksports.com. Are you not going to factor that in, what they did later in their career? You talk about resume. You use the word resume. Tennessee recently, and I'm talking about the past couple of weeks, looks a lot better than Ohio State. And I don't think there's any debate about that. So if I'm putting together, and this is why I agreed with you that Tennessee should host. I didn't think they ever would, but I think they should, and I still think they should. The bottom line is, Caleb, what Tennessee has done recently is far more impressive than what Ohio State has done recently. That should be a factor.
And I'm going to say I actually disagree with you on that too. You could say what Tennessee did last weekend was more impressive than what Ohio State did last weekend. Okay, fair enough. I mean, I get people are going to say Vanderbilt played Texas closer than Michigan did, but I think anybody, and you would agree with me, Dave, on a neutral field, if you had to bet Michigan or Vanderbilt, you're taking Michigan, right?
Barely. I think that's closer than. Yeah, I think that's close.
I think right now I'm taking Vanderbilt. I mean, Michigan. Right now I'm taking Michigan pretty clear cut. If you want to talk to me about Vanderbilt in October, maybe, but Vanderbilt's so banged up now. This is not Tennessee did not beat the same Vanderbilt team that beat Alabama. That's not the same team. So if we're going to talk about recency, let's go there. Let's also talk about this. Recency biased. Tennessee's last game against a ranked team, Dave, we watched them lose by 2 touchdowns to Georgia. Ohio State's last game against a ranked team, we watched them beat Indiana by 3 touchdowns, and the game wasn't even that close. So, I mean, if you want to play the recency bias, Ohio State has beaten 2 top 10 teams more recently than Tennessee has beaten a top 25 team.
Okay, I want you to answer this for me. If the 2 teams, because I've talked to my gambling expert, if the 2 teams played at Neyland Stadium, what the spread would be and who you would favor, because you're pretty darn good at gambling stuff too. But I've talked to my gambling expert, so I have numbers for you. Give me 30 seconds. Banks and Jones. Why Banks and Jones? Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks and Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks and Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks and Jones. T. Scott Jones. Banks and All right, Caleb, if this game were at Neyland Stadium, what do you think the point spread would be? According to my gambling expert, who is golden on this.
I think it should be about Tennessee by 2, but I think they would favor Ohio State by roughly 3. And the only reason I'm saying I think they'd do that is I saw what the point spread would be if the projections hold and Tennessee goes to Ohio State. And they're giving Ohio State a lot of points. And so
it would be dead even, according to my guy.
So they are saying
and let me give you what my guy's telling me at Ohio State. At Ohio State, 5.5. According to his metrics. Now, I don't know what the odds makers are saying. Let's all remember the odds makers, they want gambling even on both sides. My guy's a metrics guy. So this is how he beats the system more oftentimes than not. I don't know what the number you've seen out there, but he says, according to metrics, it would be 5. It should be 5.5.
So FanDuel sent Josh Pate how they would favor the games based on last night, and they said Ohio State would be favored by 9.
Okay. So if it comes out on Sunday, and that's the game, and we'll discuss if there's any opportunity for that to get messed up, you should jump all over it, according to my metrics guy. And it's 9. If it's 9, you should jump all over it because the metrics says 5.5.
I would agree with that. And it's it's funny you say that because we're going to talk in a second. I mean, I think part of this is Tennessee. Very few teams have as drastic of a difference between home and the road as Tennessee do. Is that fair to say? But
Yes.
I think what we can say in favor of Tennessee this time around, though, is look, they have a much better defensive team than they've had in years past, and as we know, defense travels. I'll say this: this might be my craziest statement. Even if they go to Ohio State, they might be more equipped for the cold weather at Ohio State than most SEC teams. This Tennessee team.
I'm not sure I agree with that.
Defense is defense not equipped for cold weather? Doesn't cold weather benefit defense?
Well, defense in a running game, but still, I think for Tennessee to be special and beat a good team, they've got to be able to throw the ball like they did against Vanderbilt.
I'm not so sure Ohio State is the one equipped for the cold weather, even though they play in it.
Okay.
I know that's crazy to say, but think about it this way. Aaron Rodgers played in Green Bay for years. He was never actually equipped for the cold. Ohio State, that spread offense that Ryan Day runs, there's a reason they keep losing to Michigan in late November. They're not built for it.
That's a pretty good point. And I'll give you this too, that Tennessee, the scary part, I think, is the psychological disadvantage that the Vols could be in if they play the Buckeyes in Columbus, which we believe will be the case.
Yes.
Man, they're mad. Man, they're going to be mad. Now, I don't know if some of that dissipates over the course of 3 weeks, basically 3 weeks. Maybe some of that dissipates, but man, I think you'd much rather play a team that's coming off a victory as opposed to coming off a heartbreaking loss like to Michigan. They're absolutely going to be fighting for Ryan Day's job. They're going to be fighting for respect. It is maybe the worst draw you can possibly imagine. And I know we're going to talk more about that here in a little bit, but I don't think Tennessee fans should be scared at all to play Ohio State. I think they should be concerned to play them in Columbus.
Okay, I can get with that. Now let's talk about this for a minute, because I haven't gotten to it because we stuck on and we're talking about Tennessee, but people are debating me on this, and I have a nice little TikTok up and a couple videos from yesterday's show. Are people really upset that Alabama's in over Miami? Because I'm sorry, Dave, Alabama deserves to be in over Miami. Am I crazy? Am I losing my mind?
No. I agreed with you on that yesterday. I'm surprised that they were 11 instead of 12.
Well, they have to be 11. Well, you're surprised. Well, I guess okay. Well, there's only I don't know who would have been 11 though over Alabama is the question.
Well, we'll get into that. We'll switch it up because we've got more topics. There's a lot to dive into with this college football playoff. How's our poll question look there, Caleb?
Did the CFP screw Tennessee? Yes, they deserve a home game, 75%. No, they shouldn't have lost to Arkansas, 25%. And that's where I'm at. Shouldn't have lost to Arkansas. You wanted a home game? Don't go lose to Arkansas. Off a bye against a 6-6 team.
Seems like a decade ago.
Don't lose to Arkansas on the road off a bye. An Arkansas team that's 6-6 that would be 5-7 if Tennessee didn't go lose to them.